with quality and pride. Call the pros today, 813-505-8474. That's 813-505-8474. Also, all troops and veterans will receive a 10% discount. That's Easy Lift Movers, proudly saluting our troops and veterans. They are professionals who care.
Mom always told us to eat our fruits and veggies. Well, there's no better way to keep Mom happy than to take Fortify Organic Blue-Green Superfood. Studies indicate people who consume the most fruits and veggies each day are the healthiest with the best improved immune system. This product was created and designed by board-certified Dr. Michael Lang. You know him from the program Ask the Doctor. During this viral pandemic crisis, Dr. Lang recommends eating 10 servings of organic fruits and veggies a day, but this may not be realistic. This product produced by Dr. Lang has developed one of the first all-organic, gluten-free, and FODMAP-free superfood. It's called Fortify Organic Blue-Green Superfood. It's simple to take. Drink one serving a day to get 12 different superfoods. It's compatible for people with IBS since it's FODMAP-free. Perfect for anyone who needs a fruit and vegetable boost. Right now, Fortify is offering 25% off the superfood product. Go to Fortify.com. That's Fortify.com. Use promo code RADIO and receive the 25% discount. Eat healthy. Be healthy. Fortify.com. Keeping America fit and healthy during this time of precautionary change.
Welcome back to A Neighbor's Choice. I'm David Gornoski, your host. War, what is it good for? We're asking Eric Garris, founder of Antiwar.com, that question today. And the sanctions that are around war, those are just as vicious and disgusting in some way. And I wanted to ask you, Eric, what do you think of this new headline? It's at antiwar.com. DOJ unveils major new indictment of Assange.
Well, that's terrible. Assange is a hero, and he's merely a truth teller. And the U.S. government has declared him to be a traitor and is trying to either bring him back to give him a military tribunal or to just keep him in the Belmarsh prison in Britain, which is currently being overrun with COVID. And he's got lung issues, and I'm sure the U.S. government would be very happy with him just dying there because the whole procedure of trying to bring him back has been so complicated.
And it really demonstrates in very, very detail there that the weakness of President Trump and his administration, because, you know, Obama had, I guess, declined to not prosecute Assange, so the story goes. I don't know if that, you know, all the details, but maybe it's not what we think. But that's what we've heard, is that he didn't decline not to prosecute Assange, but Trump administration does and is doing so. And you got to wonder, you know, Trump wouldn't have even been in the White House if it wasn't for Assange balancing out the media hits against him with a perspective that gave a different side of the story, you know?
That's right. And a lot of people don't realize Assange is being accused of participating in hacking. Assange is not a hacker. He's a journalist. He's somebody that was publicizing leaks that were given to him. The first leak that he became well known for was one where he revealed the fact from an Army major that we had killed children and journalists in Iraq, and that this was covered up, and Chelsea Manning revealed this by leaking the video, the drone video, showing what we had done. And that is why the U.S. is so angry. That's why the intelligence community, the Defense Department, is really up in arms, because Assange has revealed so many of the things that they have tried to keep secret from the American people.
Right. And at the same time,
and as far as
yeah, go ahead.
Well, and as far as the issue with Trump, he is being blamed for leaking information that hurt Hillary Clinton in the election. Well, it's absolutely true that that's what he did, but it wasn't information that we should have that should have been kept secret from the Americans. It was not false information. It was information about how she was conspiring to hide what she was doing by destroying her email servers.
Right. Yeah, that's true, and that's something that people keep saying. Trump, if he had really control over his administration, he would know that this is no reason why he should be trumpeting up all these charges against Assange, and it's stuff like this which is going to send him to a resounding electoral defeat unless he gets his act together on this. This would be an obvious thing for him to do. I know some diehard Trump fanatics say, "Oh no, it's all part of a super secret plan. He's just letting Assange rot in prison for a long time, and then once he wins, he's going to come through to help him like a knight in shining armor." But I'm not going to play by that narrative. I think it's obvious that he needs to get his act together because this is a journalist, not a hacker. This is a journalist, not a foreign power, as he's been painted by the fake media, the fake news media that pretends to be a media but is actually just Pravda disguised as Mickey Mouse.
And unfortunately, what Trump has fallen prey to is the same thing that Obama did and leaders before him that say, all I'm waiting for is to get reelected, and then I'm going to go ahead and follow through with the things that I promised. But Obama didn't do that in his second term. He made that point, and yet he never really did things that he promised to do. He didn't get us out of Afghanistan. He didn't get us. He didn't close Guantanamo. He didn't open up, get rid of sanctions, and open up trade with countries that we were trying to strangle. He just continued the same policies because ultimately our political class are cowards, and they are very afraid. They get in there, and the intelligence community tells them this is the way it has to be, and they just freeze up. And unfortunately, I have to say that I think that Trump is acting with cowardice as well. He needs the only thing that's going to get him reelected is if he takes a strong stand and doesn't just cower to these powers.
Right. He certainly doesn't owe them anything. I mean, all these Bolton types and stuff have done everything they can to sabotage his election and sabotage his administration every step of the way. The neocons have been very vicious. They're still raising money against him from a Republican side. And, I don't understand what they have on him that he wants to be loyal to them like a lapdog, even though they hate his guts and they have nothing to do with anything he talks about when he talks about ending nation building. He said the other night in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that the military-industrial complex doesn't like him so much because he doesn't, because he says, if you're not dropping bombs, there's not as much money to be made. And that might be true. And, but it seems like he's really been giving them a lot of handouts anyway. So I don't get it. Is the military-industrial complex so ruthless, Eric, that if Trump doesn't do one extra bomb, that's enough for them to do what they're doing to him?
I think they're never satisfied.
Yeah.
They always try and push them for more, and they're bloodthirsty. The military-industrial complex is the people who run it are bloodthirsty, and they are power mad. They think they can do anything, and they have reason to believe that because they've gotten away with so much. The American people have to stand up to them because the politicians certainly aren't.
So, Eric, I wanted to ask you, do you think that maybe our militarized life that we've been engaged in for some time with perpetual war overseas and seeing body bags come back and seeing soldiers come back with PTSD, do you think that somehow has a connection to the growing unrest and civil unrest in America where people are tearing down statues in anger and pointing fingers at left and right? I think there's a connection there. I think it's something about when a country sells its soul for empire, that it kind of rots the core of our ability to get along with each other internally. Do you see that?
Well, that's true. That's true because, we're told that America stands for certain values, but it's clear that we are not upholding those values. And so people end up following false political leaders who sell them on other reasons that these things are happening, instead of them being able to realize what is really going on. That we have a real problem with coronavirus right now. And the biggest problem that we have is what's happening to the economy, what the politicians have done to the economy. But all of this could be alleviated if they would simply cut the Pentagon. You know, the U.S. military budget is over 40% of the entire budget when you consider all the aspects of it.
Very good.
Think about how that could free up the economy if that was cut.
Excellent point. Eric Garris, we're going to have you on again, Antiwar.com.
All kinds of lunacy going on.
Yeah.
The madness of 2020.
No.
Weekdays 11 to 2.
I'm just so fed up with these Democrats. It's unbelievable.
Get it straight from Chris Plant.
They're so hypocritical. It makes me sick.
It's the Chris Plant Show.
This has just got me going on.
And the left is waging war against the police in the United States.
Telling it like it is.
You should be thanked profusely for getting to the point. You're a voice of reason in the sea of idiots.
The Chris Plant Show. Weekdays 11 to 2. News Talk 1040 WHBO.
Coronavirus cases surging in 27 states. In Texas, all residents urged to wear masks. The governor ordering future phases of reopening be put on hold. The mask mandate also in effect in Arizona. House Democrats expected to pass a policing reform proposal. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi.
Today, with the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, the House is honoring his life and the lives of all killed by police brutality and pledging never again.
Republican Congressman Peter King of New York arguing against the bill.
It's time to stand with the men and women in blue who put their lives on the line for us, all the rest of us, every day of the year. I strongly urge a no vote.
The bill expected to pass along party lines, but likely to fail in the Senate. The number of workers who applied for unemployment benefits fell to 1.48 million last week. That's the 14th straight week jobless claims remained above a million. Stocks surging in the final minutes of trading today. The Dow closing up nearly 300 points. Dave Packer, ABC News.
Welcome back to A Neighbor's Choice. We just heard from Eric Garris of Antiwar.com talking about how disastrous our foreign policy has been, how this overextension abroad with big government, $1 trillion spending every year for our foreign policy to make the world safe for military-industrial profiteers has actually become something that's coming home to roost. It's actually corroding and eroding the fabric of our culture here at home. And so these things are all tied together. Don't ever let anybody tell you that, foreign policy is over here and domestic is over there and all this other stuff. That is not how we tie things. That's not how we do it. It's actually all holistic. And if you abandon morality here at home, it will come out in the foreign policy that we engage in. And if you abandon morality in our foreign policy, it will come home and corrode our moral fabric here at home. It all goes hand in hand. And one of the things that we talk about a lot on this program is our criminal justice system. We talk about it because this affects everybody. It affects all of our neighborhoods. It affects all of our communities. It destroys our safety when we lock up people. It bankrupts our country when we spend tens of thousands of dollars on each individual every year for no for no reason at all other than they're a nonviolent choice that is a money-making thing to arrest people for. But we have a happy story today because someone that we've had on the program, Lisa Jacoby, is with us. How you doing, Lisa?
I'm doing good, David. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I know that you have a special guest with us, someone who's also been on the program, Chad Marks. How you doing, Chad?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great, and I think you've got some good news today. I want to hear about what's just occurred today.
Chad walked out of prison today.
Well, that's awesome. You know, Chad, we've had you on the program before, and you called in when you were, I believe you were in jail at the time. It was in Kentucky, is that right? Or Tennessee? Do we have
Hello?
Chad?
Hello.
Hey, Chad. Yeah, we've had you. We've had you on the program, and before you were talking about your experience for a nonviolent crime, and today you're coming out of prison. You've got your sentence shortened and you're to time served. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. So how you feeling right now?
Well, things are I was a little shocked walking out of there, but I'm happy. Best day of my life, to be honest with you. And I'm just happy to be out of prison, man.
Well, I bet you are. And how many years did you serve in prison for the nonviolent charge?
Did 17 years, 4 months, and 21 days.
Wow. And now you're home free, huh? You're able to come home, get your food, what you like, and enjoy yourself, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's a good feeling, man, to be able to walk out of there. But on the flip side, I left a lot of good guys behind, that deserve to get out of there. Some deserve to get out of there more than I did, but yet they're still sitting in prison.
Well, Chad, and I know that kind of captures who you are because, I've been reading your posts on Facebook that you've been able to send out, and you've been spending your time as a kind of a lawyer of sorts, helping folks with unjust sentencing all over the country and those who you serve with in prison. And you've been focusing on other people as your primary, time that you spend your time working on. So I think you're going to continue doing that kind of work, aren't you?
Oh, 100%. I got a lot of good guys that are left behind that I'm working on now, trying to get out. Actually, you might have read the post from yesterday. I won a case, Ronnie Lauderdale. He was serving a life sentence, ended up contracting COVID-19 at FMC Lexington, and we got his life sentence reduced to time served yesterday. So he's going into the quarantine unit, and he should be home in about 14 days.
Wow. That's a tremendous victory, and you've got a lot of victories like that. Of course, Amy Pova, got to give her a shout out because she's the one that put me in touch with you and Lisa and your case at CanDoClemency.com. And I know that you're going to continue to lead the fight as many others, just like Amy, who experienced unjust sentencing for a nonviolent charge. She's turned into a warrior, and I think you're going to be making a lot of waves to come as you continue your work now with your freedom fully intact. What do you want to do next? Where do you go from here? What's your next steps for your mission?
Well, the next step for me is I actually wrote a book about federal prison. It was about USP Big Sandy. I'm going to get ready to publish that within the next 30 days. But I also want to focus on, just getting a lot of guys out of prison. And basically, my arguments that I'm making are based off of the First Step Act. A lot of guys were sentenced to stack 924C sentences. And that's what I ended up getting 40 years for. I had 5 years for 924C and 25 years for a second one. And what the First Step Act did was it clarified that courts were misapplying that law and that a bunch of us went to prison under a law that we shouldn't have went to prison for. And then they fixed it in the First Step Act, but what they didn't do was make that change retroactive.
Why didn't they make it? Oh, go ahead.
In the First Step Act, they added the compassionate release where judges can make a decision if there's extraordinary and compelling reasons to reduce a sentence. And once they did that, judges started doing this all over the country. However, the government, and the same in my case, they're objecting and saying that the judges didn't have the power to make that determination, that the only person that can make that determination was the BOP director or the warden. So basically, the government's arguing that the BOP director director of government, the government's filing an appeal against me to try to put me back in prison. To make that determination that there are extraordinary and compelling reasons. But my judge found that he had the authority to do that based on my rehabilitation and the fact that Congress clarified that they never meant for people to get those type of sentences when they're first-time offenders.
Right. And so this argument they're making is that the First Step Act does not give those judges that discretion or something? Is that what they're saying?
Well, the judges are arguing that they do have the discretion,
right.
and they did that in my case. They did it recently in a case out of Utah, Keepa Mau Mau, and we were both represented by John Gleason. He was a former prosecutor in the John Gotti case, and he was a federal judge for over 22 years. And he represented both of us, but the government's trying to put both of us. Well, I got out. Mau Mau's still in jail, but the government's argument is that our judges didn't have the authority to do that. And they want to put me back in jail, and they want to make sure Mau Mau doesn't get out.
Right. Wow. So why do they have such an obsession with keeping people locked up so long? I mean, I can't understand how people can treat human beings that way and feel like they're being a good guy for it. I don't get it.
Well, this is the thing. You know, a lot of prosecutors, unfortunately, they make these things personal, and they should never be personal. Never. I mean, business is business. I don't care what business you're in. If you're in the criminal business, or in the prosecution business, it should just be business. It shouldn't be personal. But they take it personal. And what they're doing is it's just a waste of tax dollars. When someone's rehabilitated, I think they should be released from prison. If you're not a threat to the community, you should be released from prison. Everything doesn't have to be about punishment. And we have this thing called the Eighth Amendment. And there's a ban on cruel and unusual punishment. And if you're sending people to prison, and you've been sending people to prison under these laws that are unjust and absolutely grotesque and draconian, and you say, hey, look, this isn't what Congress meant. Because when Congress changed this law, they titled it the clarification of 924C. So if you just clarified that Congress never meant to do what's been being done, then why are prosecutors, why would they keep pushing this? Why would they keep pushing that argument? It's wrong.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing. And it seems like there's a lot of saving face that doesn't need to be going on here. People need to repent of their participation and put people away for such a long time. And it's a good day, though, that you are an example of enjoying your freedom from a long sentence, over 17 years, you said, for a nonviolent charge of a drug offense. So how do what would you say to folks right now who, they've got family members or friends languishing in prison for a similarly unjust overstep of federal or government authority in terms of, a cruel sentencing? What would you say to folks who've got a loved one in the same shoes you were in, where you were in prison facing many, many more years, and now you're out free? What would you tell them?
Well, this is what I would say. I think that, justice is always possible if you never give up. You got to keep pushing. But I think, with the upcoming elections, I think that people that have family members in here, just people in general, people need to demand. They need to demand that these laws be fixed, demand that people get a second chance to reclaim their lives. I think that, we can talk for hours about the 1994 crime bill. And if Joe Biden were to get in there, I think he should fix it. I think that, Donald Trump can step up right now when the governments have appealing these decisions. The president can step in and say, hey, look, this is my first step back and this is what I've done, especially with the laws that I was sentenced under. Although I'm Caucasian, it's disproportionately destroyed African Americans. And that's a fact. And they know that it's a fact. And I think that people should just demand that if they're pushing for this vote and they want your vote, well, demand change. It's, this is a government for the people. And when we look at what's going on in the country now, this is the time, because we talk about systemic racism. We talk about people being killed in the street. But what about all the men that are being killed by life with life sentences that are being sent to federal prison for the rest of their lives? Some come in at 21, 22 with 200-300 years. We have to demand change. It's not where they're just killing people in the street. African Americans are being killed in the street, but people are being killed in courtrooms across this nation. And that goes for African Americans, Hispanics, poor whites. We need change.
Would you say that the drug war needs to be repealed altogether, or do you think it just needs to be cleaned up a bit?
Well, this is what I think, right? I believe this, and I tell people this all the time. I deserve to go to prison. At the age of 24, I did not deserve a 40-year sentence. So I wouldn't say, hey, we have to just become a lawless nation where people can run around and there's no consequences. There have to be consequences. But beyond the consequences, I think that we should, because like I said, we're sending a lot of kids to prison, man. There's younger guys coming in. And really, man, a lot of these guys are mentally, they're children, man. So I think what we need to do is get people job ready, not prison ready. And I think that, no, there has to be some consequences, but it shouldn't all be about punishment. It has to also be about rehabilitation, about bettering people, about teaching people to do the right thing. You don't just take people and throw them in a cell. You don't take a 24-year-old and put them in a cell for 40 years.
Right.
I don't agree with that.
Who are some folks that you've left behind there that you want to give a shout out maybe to folks that we need to keep thinking about and shining a light on because they're experiencing unjust sentencing for their behaviors in the past?
Well, I got a real good buddy. He spoke with you before too. Jimmy Romans. He ended up with a life sentence for marijuana. I have a good friend, Christopher Hunter. He was sentenced to 35 years for 500 grams of powder cocaine. I have my best friend in prison. His name was Bradley Barn. He was sentenced to 20 years. And so what I really want to highlight is, man, this guy's like a brother to me, man. Rodney Love, African American, was sentenced to life plus 55 years at the age of 24. He ended up getting clemency from Obama, but they reduced his life sentence down to 26 years and left two 924C stacked charges in place. His judge recently released, well, not recently, but I'm sure you know the Matthew Charles story. He has the same judge as Matthew Charles had, and he has the same judge as Chris Young, and he's the guy that Kim Kardashian's been pushing clemency for.
Wow.
And I think that Rodney Love, man, he deserves a second chance to reclaim his life. He doesn't deserve to be in prison any longer. So I definitely would like people to highlight Rodney Love, man, because he deserves to get out of prison.
We're speaking with Chad Marks, and we're speaking with Lisa Jacoby, who are celebrating that Chad has just got his freedom back. He stepped outside of federal prison after 17 years for a nonviolent charge, and now he's redoubling his efforts to set more captives free for unjust laws. We're on A Neighbor's Choice here. We're live. We'll be back in just a moment with more about what you can do and how this issue impacts your life. Hold on. We'll be back in just a second.
A lawsuit is not something that anyone looks forward to. It can be devastating. There is a law firm in Tampa Bay that will keep you informed throughout the entire process. That law firm is Catania & Catania. Personal injury law is defended with full disclosure. There is no guessing game. If it's an auto accident, medical malpractice, nursing home negligence, unsafe working conditions, or motorcycle accidents, the law firm of Catania & Catania will handle the process worry-free from start to finish. Many victims do not even realize that they can claim compensation for their loss until they talk to Catania & Catania. They only represent private individuals and treat every case as if it's going to trial. Putting families first is more than just a slogan. It's their way of practicing law. It's a commitment to you. Remember, they don't get paid if you don't get paid. So go to CataniaCatania.com, award-winning over 28 years and family first. Catania & Catania, personal injury, auto accident, and motorcycle accident attorneys.
Thanks for listening to 1040 WHBO. We've seen unprecedented growth in listening over the last several months. Our ad partners are experiencing great success, and we thank you for supporting the many advertisers on this station. If you own a business or handle the marketing for a business, contact us. We'll get your message across the many media platforms we own. Call 813-250-3883. That's 813-250-3883. Or send us a note, web@radiogenesis.com. That's web@radiogenesis.com.
Bucks fans, here's a chance of a lifetime. For just $10, you can enter the ultimate raffle for the greatest game day experience ever. And it's all to benefit the Allstott Family Foundation and the Light Foundation. Mike Allstott and three-time Super Bowl champion Matt Light are inviting you to the Bucks-Saints game Sunday night, November 8th. It all starts with dinner with Matt and his lovely wife Susie at Ilume Grill the night before. On game day, you get 2 premium tickets, pre-game field passes, a tailgate party with Mike and Matt and their rowdy friends, 2 nights at the Clearwater Beach Hilton, a post-game meet and greet with Tom Brady, Drew Brees, the Gronk, and the A-Train. Plus, you'll get autographed jerseys from all 4, Brady, Brees, Gronk, and Allstott. A package like this went for $800,000, but you can get in for just $10. To enter, go to GameDayTampa.com. That's GameDayTampa.com. $10 gets you in. GameDayTampa.com.
Looking for cheap flights or cheap tickets? Call the low-cost airline travel hotline now for prices so low we can't publish them anywhere. We'll even save you money with cheap travel deals on hotels, rental cars, even complete travel packages. Call us first for the absolute cheapest prices on U.S. and international airline tickets and hotels. 800-811-3471. 800-811-3471. That's 800-811-3471.
Welcome back to A Neighbor's Choice. I'm David Gornoski, and we're talking with Lisa Jacoby and Chad Marks, who are celebrating Chad's walking out of prison today after 17 years for a nonviolent offense. And we're just having this time as a way to kind of mark this moment as a special time. We like to celebrate good news on this program. There's a lot of negative news, a lot of blame games, a lot of tearing people down in the news, but it's always good to celebrate human liberty wherever we can see it. So, Lisa, how are you feeling, and what are your thoughts right now?
I'm pretty ecstatic. I'm thrilled for him. I'm glad for his family. And just seeing him walking out today was just such a relief that it really makes all the hard work, all the frustration, all the aggravation worth it, to see the look on his face and have him still say to me he can't believe he's out of prison. It's the best thing ever.
And you've been working hard at this. How long have you been involved with helping Chad's case? I know you work with Amy Pova and others. How long have you been working with this case, and how did you get involved with it?
I started working with Chad about 2 years ago with his clemency, and then he introduced me to Amy, and Amy appointed me as his guardian angel. So we've been doing this dance for 2 solid years, almost 2.5 years now. And finally, 2.5 years later, we got the win.
Well, that's awesome. And, Chad, I'm sure, going to celebrate with a steak or something you like, huh?
Well, I'll tell you this. I've been watching this commercial about this stuffed crust meat lovers pizza, and I really wanted one of them, and I'm probably going to order one of them tonight.
Well, there you go. You deserve it, man. You have a good celebration in this moment, because there's nothing better than human freedom. There's a reason why people like movies like Braveheart, where they're torturing that man and they tell him, the William Wallace character Mel Gibson's playing, and they tell him, just say, just confess that you were wrong. Just say uncle. And he just, even in the pain of torture, he still screams out freedom. And that resonates, that message of freedom resonates with every human being at a deeply visceral level, and it's something that you're experiencing on a level that a lot of folks don't actually feel, because, they don't have the level of deprivation of freedom that you've been engaged in for 17 years in prison.
I mean, it's a tough thing to deal with, but, I just kept pushing forward, man. Every day, I always believed that I would get out of prison. So I never gave up on that fight, man. I call it my long walk to freedom. And it was a long walk, but I'll tell you what, walking out of prison today, it's hard to explain in words, man, to be honest with you. It's just really hard to explain. And I'm not, like we talked about earlier, I'm not walking away from helping other people, because there's a lot of men and women in there that they deserve a second chance to reclaim their lives, man. And I'm going to do everything I can to try to help them get that.
At what point did you start getting involved with helping people with their legal cases in prison?
Well, when I first came to prison, I knew that I had a 40-year sentence, so I started hitting the law library, And then once I finished all my stuff, I had other people who used to see me there all the time and started asking, hey, can you help me? Can you help me? And I started helping other people. And, you know, I always say it's by the grace of God, man. God gave me a gift, man, to be able to interpret the law and to help other people. So I started helping people about 2-3 years after I came to prison. And I've been successful, man, but it's never, I always say it's not me, man. It's by the grace of God.
Yeah, Rufus Rochelle is another individual who comes on our program a lot, and he's on home confinement after having the coronavirus. He spent 32 years of a 40-year sentence in prison, in Coleman Prison here in Florida. And Rufus always tells me, I never let my mind stay in prison. My mind was always outside working. That's why he would coordinate relief efforts for people in Katrina. He would coordinate getting a surgery for a child outside. He was always involving himself with things that neighbors around the country needed, and he just didn't let his mind drift into the confines of the prison itself. Would you say you used a similar experience for you?
Yeah, I think being in prison, that was my escape. My escape was the law library. My escape was teaching guys GED. But mainly, people in prison do different things to take their mind out of prison. Some guys watch movies. Some guys work out. Some guys involve themselves in the law library and fighting for justice. And that's what pushed me. That's what kept me out of prison mentally, was just doing legal work. And I was, not to say that I hated the government. I didn't hate the government. I didn't like the things that they do to people. And that's what motivated me to do what I do. And every time I win a case, I'll tell you this, I mean, there's not a better feeling than to win a case and know that someone's getting a second chance to reclaim their lives, especially as a jailhouse lawyer.
Now, when you spend that much time in prison, I know you're just now, walking out. Do you feel like there's a sensory overload, that it feels like, man, being confined to the same ritual and the same confinement, and then seeing the big, open space of the world outside? Does it feel like a little bit like sensory overload, a little bit hard to adjust to, or how does it feel?
Well, a lot of people told me this, a little change, you're going to have to take it slow. But I hate to say it this way, but when I walked out, it just felt like, I felt normal. I felt like I was all right, that I could just intermingle. And then the one thing is, when I came to the hotel, I was a little nervous around people. So that was the only thing that bothered me, was just being around normal people. I shouldn't say normal, but just being like around people in society. How did it make you feel? Just feeling out of place, uncomfortable. Yeah, I felt like I was out of place, and a little bit scared. I think I just wanted to hurry up and rush to the room.
Yeah. And I think that's something that a lot of folks probably have to experience. That's a whole nother conversation for another time about the adjustments that have to be made when you're spending such a long time in an artificial environment like that, and then the process of trying to acclimate back into the standard way of doing things in society. 17 years is a long time. I was a young high school kid, I guess, when you first walked in there.
I was a young man myself at that time.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate what you're doing, and I thank you, Lisa, for what you've done to help Chad here and others. You got a lot of comments here. Amy Pova saying, love hearing Chad's voice on your program. Today is a day we will never forget. Brad Smith says, congrats. We've got Jimmy Roman, set him free. Free Chris Hunter. Steven says, showing compassion. Janet Lee says, welcome home, Chad. Thank you. So free Trey Fegan next. So way to go, guys. This is a great moment. And Chad, I look forward to covering your work as you continue your work as a liberty freedom fighter. Congratulations on your rightful freedom.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you and appreciate what you do.
And thank you, Lisa, because we've always loved hearing from you. And I remember we had you on the day that you thought you were going to pick up Chad before, and you didn't give up the fight, and here you are, victorious. So congratulations, you guys. We'll continue.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Lisa. We'll continue to fight for these stories because this is an important story. It brings people together. Freedom brings people together. It's one of those issues that it makes everyone feel good. You know, think of that video with Alice Marie Johnson hugging her family as a grandmother after all those years languishing in the turmoil of federal prison for a nonviolent choice. It brought everyone together, left, right, and that's something we need right now because there's very few things that we can bring ourselves together around, and that's one thing that really transcends our pettiness. So let's do more of that. Set the captives free. I'm David Gornoski. Godspeed.